So this weekend I received the new Johnny Storm Hasbro Pulse exclusive, one of two, the other being the Invisible Girl, Invisible version, clear plastic. Um, as always, a mixed bag. I was very excited for these John Byrne style costumes. Uh, Seeing them in figure form is making me appreciate the original Kirby style ones a lot more now, actually, just by the look of them. And maybe it's kind of the flat way everything looks on these. I don't know. It's hard to put my finger on. But let's talk about what's really good. What's really good is Mr. Fantastic looks very sharp. I hope these white arms and the paint is laid on very nicely. I hope they stay white over the years. Well, I was talking about what I was looking at. I was talking about what I liked. So, Mr. Fantastic. The Thing head sculpt here, at this angle, it doesn't quite look like the illustration, but somewhere there's an image, a drawing in an issue of the Fantastic Four, of the Thing with his mouth open just this way, looking kind of surprised and maybe even happy. And this sculpt, this face sculpt portrait looks just like it. It's really great. And as you may have guessed, I'm using the Shadow Cat head from the Apocalypse line as Alicia Masters. And glad that worked out. Glad it popped right on there. I didn't have to saw anything down or anything. So, I'm pleased with that. Her expression's a little angry looking, but I guess maybe she was always angry at Ben anyway. So there's that. So, that said, that out of the way, I'm still just not totally happy with this iteration of these sculpts. Right off the top, nobody likes Sue Storm. And it's not the hairstyle. The hairstyle's fine. I think what it is, for me, besides kind of a pinched face, you know, it's just a little pinch. There's just too much going on in the half-inch space that is her face there. But I really don't like that little lip of an eyelid, a lower eyelid. It just makes it look like she's got a thyroid problem of some kind or other. It's just weird looking. And it makes her look a little lizardy. And that's not a look you want when you're delineating women's faces. It just doesn't work. And you know, and the low swoop of the hair, it's just too much going on in too short a space. I mean, look at Alicia by comparison. Just nice broad lines. Anyway, so there's that. Not crazy about how bright the Thing looks. But I guess that's the point of these Cartoon Wave, that they're going to do bright, garish cartoon colors. I think if you ask the fans, you know, they're supposed to be where fans count, blah, blah, blah. If you ask the fans, nobody wants a bright orange Thing any more than they wanted a bright Green Goblin in the Spider-Man wave. You know? So there's that. I'm not crazy about the smirk. There's somebody at Hasbro who sculpts everything with a smirk. And we're going to be living with that for a very long time to come, I think. Whether he does anything new or not. And that's got a bit tiresome. Not a big fan of the smirk. So the figure itself, however, you can actually see it, I think, in the video here. Johnny Storm's costume is a shade brighter, a micro shade brighter than his sister and brother-in-law. And this just annoys the fuck out of me. It really does. I don't know what happened to the mix that day. The batter, plastic batter, whatever they call it. We've seen this before. You'll get one character out of several. You know, they're all supposed to have the same kind of thing going on, same costume or whatever. And one of them is a different color. And And I think Hasbro's done this before. I think it's with the Fantastic Four line. I think they had an issue with that earlier too. I'll have to go back and look. It was one of their earlier 2007, 2008 iterations of these characters, I believe. Just didn't look right. I don't know. Maybe it was even a limb that didn't quite look right. So I'm kind of trying to let my eyes relax enough to not let it bother me, but it bothers me. And there's no reason for it. But again, this goes back to something I was talking about in another video, the other video. With Hasbro, it's always something. It's always something. There's always one thing that spoils it in one term or another. One thing to make it less perfect than it could have been. And you know, this is the problem. Hasbro comes very close to a price point, a perfect price point, and perfect design, and perfect sculpting. And the sculptors, I gotta say, except for the guy who does the smirk, I love that stuff lately. Wish we had a little more double jointed elbows and a little less hair in the way, maybe. But overall, cannot fault the sculptors. The paint guys, they need a little work. But then I think it's because, again, some of their decisions were deliberate, like cartoon colors. Now, for comparison, I've included previous Johnny Storm. And you can see this is a suntanned Johnny Storm. It's actually hard to tell if the hair is different. I think the hair on the dark costume is a little brighter than on the new one, the John Byrne one. And a head swap that I'd done early on because I didn't expect them to do a Johnny Storm was a Ben Reilly from, I guess it was one of the Spider-Man cartoon retro versions. Got rid of the figure, kept the head, and used that to duplicate as a Johnny Storm. And not really gonna have, Peter Parker hanging around anywhere, so it didn't make a difference. They looked just alike. And planted it on a spare Reed body from Walgreens, and which I really like. I don't like this big beefy Spider-Man and Johnny Storm. All these young guys, Cyclops too, for that matter. All these young guys should be a little thinner than their older, fellow heroes. But they insist on going with these giant beefy bodies, and what are you gonna do? I mean, even Kirby drew Mr. Fantastic like he was Mr. Universe. So what are you gonna do? It is what it is. If I was in charge of aesthetics at Marvel and Hasbro, I would have made some different decisions. I was always very pleased that John Byrne drew Mr. Fantastic as a normally proportioned human being. But this is the crew. This is the gang. Some of the not as many extras this time around as there should have been, I think. Mr. Fantastic, they really could have spared a nullifier for the poor guy. Or, something anyway. Walgreens definitely got the better deal on these. So we'll see how the Invisible Storm looks. Sue Storm. And, one more thing. Because this also really annoys me. I see that the 4 decal painting is a little cockeyed. And again, now I've got one other one I'm keeping in the box. I buy 2 of everything, as you know. I'm not going to break it out just to see if it's straight. And I'm not going to bust it out for any other reason like that. So, just more minor problems from Hasbro instead of just getting it right the first time. So anyway. Oh, and the fists. He comes with 3 fists. A flame fist and 2 other fists. No grip hands. Just kill me now, man. Just kill me now. I'm so tired of this kind of nonsense. And closing off saying, don't forget who Hasbro thinks they're competing with. I did some research today on Bandai, and Revoltech and those other companies. And this is who they're after. This is who they're trying to chase. They're probably never going to make it because Hasbro cannot get away with charging $100 for a 6-inch figure. But they'd like to. You know, my uncle ran a paint store, and I came across some interesting business practices from his competitors. You know, when you have a small business and you have a supplier, or rather you are the supplier to contractors, you try to make certain that they're the only ones that you are selling to, that they're not getting it anywhere else. And over the years, you keep raising the price and keep raising the price, and pray that they never actually have the time to shop around. And you know, when I started at my job in printing, we were paying something upwards of $85 for a little plastic heat stamp to laminate color proofs together. And when I ran through a few of these, you know, the owner was getting a little annoyed that they kept burning out, and they were very cheap quality. And I pointed out to them that Michaels had the same thing for about $12. And that created a problem because now he had to go to his supplier and complain to the guy that they've been in business with for 30 years that he was getting robbed. And he didn't want to tell this guy that because they were friendly. But that's what they do in business. They push their clients into a position where they're literally stealing from them at 10 times the value what they should have been paying all along. And that's where Hasbro obviously would like to be. They'd like to be charging us 10 times, 5 times what these things are actually worth, and hoping we never shop around. And why should we? Because, you know, half the stuff that comes close to it is from Japan, and is kind of not as easy to get or see in person as it used to be. And if you're like me, I like to see things in person usually, especially if I'm going to start a new line, buying things new. So that's all for this evening. And I'm actually leaning towards the old style ones to display, and not so much these new guys. And I'm kind of surprised at that because I really wanted the John Byrne versions. But anyway, until next time, good night.